Hi all, Hipper here. Today I'm going to do a bit of a preview of the Tier 7 Italian cruiser Amalfi that'll be available in about 2 weeks when the next update falls. And as you know, I'm primarily a Tier 7 cruiser player, so I'm really excited about a new Tier 7 cruiser, obviously. So here I'll just go through it in what detail we have at this point, and hopefully it'll give you some information on whether it'll be worth investing in when the time comes. So first of all, it's a pretty average looking cruiser, I think. I don't like the whole candy stripe thing on the bow, and uh, if the Zara is any guide, then when you put camouflages on it, some of the stuff remains that weird blue color. So, I mean, that doesn't look very nice, I think. So, I'm kind of hoping that's not the case with Amalfi, but if Zara and Montecuccoli and the others are anything to go by, then that will be the case, and they'll look a little bit weird in my mind. Uh, of course, looks aren't everything. So, now, as I'm sure you know, the Italian cruisers, as they are right now on console, they don't have the special rolling smoke from PC, and they don't have the sap shells. That's obviously a downside, and they don't really work that well without those two things, I'd say. And uh, Wargamer have said that these two things will be added at a later point. So unless that later point is next month, then I wouldn't start playing Amalfi until at least the rolling smoke has been rolled out, so to speak. So I hope that'll happen soon, because I'm sure, as everyone who has played Zara knows, these ships really need that gimmick to work their best. So anyway, if we look at Wargaming site for Amalfi on PC, I will get this excerpt here and just boil it down. So it's a flexible ship, and disengaging from a fight is its strength. And yeah, that sounds reasonable. With the rolling smoke, you'll be able to disappear instantly, which is perfect for when you get into trouble. And actually, it sounds a lot like the way that at least I play the French Tier 7 Charles Martel. So I'll try to explain that here. Now it sounds a lot like what I'm showing here in Charles Martel when you get into a situation that's probably a little bit worse than you thought. So you see here now I get targeted by 4 ships. That's too much. So I use the special French skill to lower my concealment by 20%, which will allow me to either escape or reposition. And to me, the rolling smoke sounds a lot like that. And that's also something to consider if you already have a high-level French commander and you have Martel already. Is Amalfi really going to be that different? So before we get into the nitty-gritty details, I'll just show you what the upgrades do here, so we can just keep that in mind. Like the targeting system gives you the standard 10% increase in range, so that'll give it 15.4-ish, and then if you add the boost on top of that, you can probably reach just around 16. The hull, it's actually a lot of hit points on this cruiser. It's 42,500 after the upgrade, and the rudder is down to 11 seconds. So just keep that in mind, because we'll look at that later. 11 seconds is pretty bad for a Tier 7 cruiser. But with smoke, it helps. If it had rolling smoke, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Normal smoke, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to do anything good. So lastly, the artillery upgrade will give you just a little bit of extra HE damage at 3100. Not a lot, but it helps. Alright, so if we first look at survivability here, they're both at 50, but just remember this is before Amalfi's hull upgrade, so it'll actually have 42,500 hit points instead of the 38 it has here. So actually it'll be much better than Martel. It'll have more hit points, and it'll also have better armor. The problem is that Amalfi probably won't get a health, like a heal. I don't think so. I can't tell right now, and it doesn't look like it will. With no heal, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I have to see it in action before saying anything, but it's like a heal is very important at T7, and uh, I think Amalfi will struggle without one. Now, Amalfi supposedly has a 50 mil bow armor belt. It doesn't go all the way up though, so it does this on PC at least. If it does that on console remains to be seen, but if it does, it should be a better bow tanker than Martel, which is not a very good bow tanking cruiser. Alright, so if we move on to artillery here, then this is where Martel really pulls away from Amalfi. If you look at the firing range, with Amalfi upgraded, it's probably going to be somewhere around the same, 15.8, maybe 16 kilometers, something like that. The reload time, Martel has it beat totally. I have a 9.2, but you can actually get it down to 8 seconds if you want to spec completely into that. Amalfi, with the same build as Martel, it should land around 14 point something seconds, which is a long time for a tier 7 cruiser. The HE shell damage with Amalfi, remember that's 3100 after the upgrade, so it's better than Martel, and the AP is about the same. Now the turret rotation looks very interesting here. If you can see, like Martel is already fully upgraded and it's at 20 seconds, and Amalfi is totally stuck and it's only at 25 seconds. So if you put an agile commander on this and the different kinds of upgrades, you can get this down to probably around 15 seconds, something like that. It's very, very fast for a tier 7 cruiser. It remains to be seen exactly how long we can get it down, but it will be substantially less than Martel. Alright, so if you just look at torpedoes next, then they're pretty similar, except that Amalfi gets 4 torpedoes on each side, and Charles Martel only gets 3 on each side. The French torpedoes hit harder. They have a bit worse detectability and a bit worse range, but they're almost 10 knots faster. So which one's better? It's probably somewhere in the same range, I'm guessing. I mean, I like torps with a long range, so in the end I'd probably prefer the Amalfi torps, although they are pretty slow. Alright, next is maneuverability, and Martel has Amalfi beat completely in this. The turning circle is about the same, but Martel's rudder can go down to 2.7, which is pretty fast. Amalfi's rudder shift after the hull upgrade will be 11 seconds, so that means with all the rudder buffs in place, you can get it down to 3.3, 3.4 seconds, something around that area, depending on the rounding. And that's pretty slow for a tier 7 cruiser. It's a bit worrying, actually. The speed is pretty crazy on Amalfi. It's 37 knots stuck. I've never seen that before. That's crazy. Martel, fully upgraded with speeds, hits 37.8. So you'll see Amalfi is way, way, way faster. Of course, Martel has the speed boost, so actually, when the boost is on, they're about the same. But Amalfi should be able to hit 45 knots, fully upgraded. Alright, so we get to the last part, which is the most interesting part here. Detectability, or concealment, whatever you want to call it. Amalfi beats Martel by a long shot. It's all the way down at 11.4 stock. So if you really want to spec into your concealment on your Amalfi, you can do that. It can probably get down to probably around 8 or something like that. Just like rough estimate here. And if you look at the detectability by firing in smoke, it's also more than a kilometer less for Amalfi, which is pretty great. So then, on the other hand, it brings me back to what I said earlier in this video, that the smoke, as it is now in Amalfi, is pretty terrible, pretty useless, I think. Amalfi is not a cruiser that's made to sit in its smoke and shoot, just like the British ones. The smoke is there to disengage and bring, and sorry, not bring, but to break line of sight, so you can either escape or reposition. Exactly like what I showed with Martel earlier, except that it's used the 20% reduction in detectability to achieve exactly the same thing. Now on Martel, that detectability perk takes 20% off. So that means that if you're detected at 12.8 like here, you should, when you hit that button, you'll be able to be undetected until you hit about 10 kilometers from the enemy, which is very useful. You can do some really cool stuff with that. Of course, with smoke, it's even better because you'll stay undetected all the way down to 6.3, and even more than that if you don't shoot while you're in your smoke. And it keeps making me wonder about this smoke here, if it's really worth it. As it is now, like I said before, if it's just normal warship smoke, I wouldn't even bother with Amalfi. I would wait until Wargaming rolls out the actual Italian rolling smoke. If/when that happens, then you'll have a pretty awesome cruiser in Amalfi. I think you'll be able to take advantage of the same trick that Martel does, where you will instantly disappear. Except Amalfi will disappear for a longer radius, because your detectability in smoke is a lot less than the 20% reduction in detectability you get with the French perk. On the other hand, though, because Martel doesn't smoke up, you'll still be able to spot while you are using your concealment trick, and that's really, really useful. I can't remember how many times I've pulled off crazy stunts with that. So in the end, I don't know. I'll have to play Amalfi before I can make any kind of final judgment. But from looking at the stats we have access to here, I still think Martel looks like a better cruiser overall. Well, I guess we'll see in a few weeks anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and any questions or comments, just let me know here on the channel. Alright, well guys, I'll see you on the battlefield.